Hello everyone, I'm Heather. I'm back for a really quick tag, and I mean it this time because I'm starving and I still have to get food before the end of my lunch break. So, okay. This tag is the mid-year book Freakout tag, and I know most people did this one in June, but I have seen other people do it in July, so I'm not that late, okay? I'm just late enough to be late, but not to make it weird, okay? Which is kind of my MO. So there's 13 questions, and it's just sort of like catching us up on the progress for the year. You know, like, where are we, okay? How much time do we have left to complete our goals, okay? Which is a healthy way to look at things, which is not something I tend to do, so I'm gonna do this now. Okay, so the first one is, what's the best book you've read so far in 2021? And it's already hard, mate, okay? Loads of people, they go the whole year and they go, my favorite book for the year was this. Please, okay? I've read like 80 books this year so far. How do you find the best one, okay? So I've knocked it down to 4, okay? And I think I can put them in order. So maybe I do have a feel for my favorite book, but I feel like I need to mention the struggle, okay? That the 3 that missed out, okay, could have easily been also the favorite book. Okay, so number 4, I've got the Things That Make the Heart Beat Faster by João Moraes. Okay, this is I mentioned this in my last one, I think. I just finished it. It's short stories by an author who lives in Cardiff, where I live, and the stories are about Cardiff, and they're about like sort of like grittier parts of Cardiff, you know, like drug dealers and you know, various sorts of things. And like the language is really good, like it's really funny, it's really like, you know, genuine to Cardiff. Like I can 100% get inside the mind of this person who lives in Cardiff, and like I think I've actually heard conversations in this book just on the street. It's really authentic and really funny, and I just love the crap out of it. And like the endings of the stories are really good as well. Like loads of times I can't fully get into short stories, I think because the ending lets me down in some way, you know, like I can't get into the ending. But I love the crap out of that. Okay, number 3, yeah, In the Miso Soup by Ryu Murakami. I've mentioned this one before as being like a really good one. It was like a sort of like Japanese translation thriller, like a slasher type one, like a horror one. That I didn't think I was going to like, but I'm getting sort of more into the horror ones now. And like I thought it was just going to be like one of these like random slasher things, but it ended up being like really philosophical and like having a lot of like conversation about like society and like Japanese society and the differences between like Japanese and American society, and like what the like effects are, negative and positive, of our society sort of like moving forward and stuff. Like it shocked the crap out of me and I loved it. I haven't read any more of Ryu Murakami's ones yet, but I think I will do because it was very good. It's got like a cult following online. I found them. They're my people now. Okay, the number 2, Man Named Doll by Jonathan Ames. Okay, so I just randomly saw this one in the bookstore. I'd never heard of it before, but I loved the cover. I just picked it up. It's about this guy who like was in the police or was in the army or something like that. Beforehand, he retired, he left. And then he became a PI, like he does his own sort of like detective work, and he moonlights as like a bouncer at this massage place slash sort of like happy ending type place late at night. And some stuff goes down at the massage place. A guy comes in, like gets rowdy with the girls, acting a bit crazy. This guy, the main guy, ends up killing that guy, and then it just launches him into like a whole situation of like having to go clean that up and investigate that and blah blah blah. But the guy is so funny. Like the writing was really funny and like really snappy and like a bit like old school noir, you know, like loads of like similes, like, you know, I was, you know, tired as a drunk squirrel, or like whatever, like, you know, just thrown in, like they're real, like people actually say things like that. And I loved it. I love the crap of it. I loved the character, and like, anyway. Okay, number 1, and I think I only just recently realized that this is number 1 for me, because I think I took it in as really loving it, but then didn't really internalize how much it has changed my reading interests from then. Like, I realize now that after reading that and loving it, I've pursued like a wholly different set of like genres and like books that I've been reading and loving from then. Like, I don't want to be weird, but it may have changed my life. Okay, anyway, it is My Best Friend's Exorcism by Grady Hendrix. So, I think this was recommended to me by Shannon Burt on Past Story Time, or someone else. Like, I think 2 or 3 people that I watch on BookTube enjoyed it. But anyway, I just thought, it's horror. I'm not into horror. I've like moved these things out of my mind so much in the past, like completely uninterested. But this book is like funny, like tongue-in-cheek horror, like cutesy weird horror. It's like all about sort of like 80s nostalgia, and like the kids are like, you know, I don't know, like people, like teens in the heathers, you know. It's like a sort of like cinematic type horror, but less about the slashering and more about like a spookiness and like the supernatural and like a sort of like jokey sort of supernatural. I don't know. It's hard to describe, but now I've read all of Grady Hendrix' books that are available, and his new one, I don't know if it just came out or if it's coming out soon, but I've pre-ordered that, so that will show up in my box when it's ready. And I'm super excited now. Like, I love him now, and I love horror now, and so I think for that reason I'm gonna stick it up there. Best one that I've read of the year is My Best Friend's Exorcism by Grady Hendrix. Okay, number 2, best sequel you've read so far in 2021. Okay, so this one's again like, I don't know. I've read loads of sequels, mainly though to do with Rivers of London. So the first one in the series is Rivers of London, and then like it's a series of sequels after that. So I read Broken Homes, Whispers Underground, Moon Over Soho. They're all by the same guy. They all have the same sort of people in them, and I love them. They're amazing. Basically, the idea is it's this cop, and he's like a sort of rookie type cop. Like, he hasn't been a cop in London that long. But then he sort of runs into this supernormal, like a supernormal, that's just me in it. No, like a paranormal situation with like, you know, a magical being. And then he gets roped into being like an apprentice to the last wizard in England or something. And he's also in the police. And now him and the wizard guy now make up the magical department of the police, and they just sort of like deal with all these magical crimes and investigations and everything. And then the other people in the police, like high up in the police, know that this division exists, but they have like blinders on, like they refuse to talk about it. So every time they do reports on the things that they've investigated, they have to like leave out the magical bits. They have to like pretend like they didn't happen, and like the people are high up, they're happy with that. They're like, so you've left this out of the report. Anyway, I'm really into it. So also though, another sequel I read was Delicates by Brenna Thumler, and that's the sequel to Sheets, about like a sheet ghost living in a laundromat. Both the first one and the second one were just absolutely delightful, and I feel like it needs to be mentioned. Okay, number 3. A new release you haven't read yet but want to. Woo, loads. I think though, the sort of new releases I have that I'm really interested in reading soon, they're not so new because only one of them is a hardback. The other 2 are paperback books, so I reckon they must not be that new, but I've only just seen them newly now. Don't know. Okay, anyway, first one, Plain Bad Heroines by Emily Danforth. This one I think is about a girls' school in like the early 1900s or something, where 2 girls were murdered and then it closed down, and now it's like a dilapidated building. And they like go in to like, someone's written a story about the building or something, and now they're going to go in and like film a horror movie about it or something. I'm hoping that it's scary or like spooky or whatever. Like, a couple people have said that it's absolutely amazing, so I'm pretty excited about that. Also, Where the Wild Ladies Are by Aoko Matsuda, I think. So this one I saw on NPR's like book concierge list, and it's like retellings of Japanese folktales or like legends and stuff. And I think some of them are quite spooky, like to do with ghosts and things like that. And each of the tales I think is interconnected in like, I read this other book called like Paradise Block or something, where it is different separate stories, but they all sort of fit together in bits. So I love like folk tales, fairy tales, legends, stuff like that. I love Japanese stuff, you know, these interconnected stories. I'm pretty excited about those. Then also There's No Such Thing as an Easy Job by Kiku Tsumura, I think. And so this one, she's fucked off with her job and she wants a new job. So she goes into this temp agency and just legit says, I want a job that's not hard. Like, I don't want to do any like reading, don't want to do any like thinking. I just want it to be easy as shit. So like put her as this person who does surveillance over a guy in a room. Like, he never leaves the room or whatever. She just like watches him 24/7 in this room. And I think like weird stuff happens there, and then she like carries on into like a bunch of different jobs. Like one is like writing fortunes for cookies or something like that. And then I think it sort of like lets you know sort of near the end she finds out that's not what she's looking for. She's looking for something more meaningful. So I'm excited about that. Okay, number 4, most anticipated release for the second half of the year. If Go Tell the Bees, I'm Gone by Diana Gabaldon does not come out this year, I'm just giving it all up. I'm just throwing the towel in. It will never come out. It's supposed to have been coming out for like the last 3 or 4 years. I read all of the Outlander books as they come out since, you know, like since the ones that have come out since I like started reading them. I'm there, like I pre-ordered them, I'm in. So I've been super excited about this one, and I've pre-ordered it, and now it's coming out in November. It says it's coming out in November, but it come out in November, and it's the final Outlander book. It's like number 8, and it's over, and I feel like, are Jamie and Claire gonna die in the end? Guys, are they gonna die in the end? They're so old now, okay, and they still just like jump on horses at the last minute and chase off after bandits and then f a bush, you know what I mean? Like, it's all crazy, and I feel like they have to die now, aren't they? Like, in this last installment, they've got to be like 90 years old. They're not magical beings, you know what I mean? Anyway, number 5, biggest disappointment. So, I'm gonna go with Supermarket by Bobby Hall, I think is his name. So, I was super excited about this. It's like a psychological thriller that happens in a supermarket. And I was like, yes, it's going to be amazing. And I bought it ages ago, and it's been sitting on my shelf for ages, waiting for me to get to it. And I was super excited about it. But then I read it and gave it 3 stars. So the plot idea was that this writer, he gets like too deep in his own head while he's writing a book. Like, he's trying to be his main character, you know, and like live his life. And he ends up, you know, getting too deep in and losing his mind. Like, he loses himself in the story and can't tell the difference between what's in the book and what's in real life. Which is a cool idea, which I really liked, but it takes ages to get going. Like, you know, it's building up. Like, the writing isn't particularly good either. It's like, I don't know, I kept sort of losing the plot or whatever. And then the climax was super predictable, and then it just sort of fizzled to an end. Like, there was no like, bam, okay, and then, yeah, wrapping it up and then we're done. It was just sort of peaked in the middle and then fizzled and then had like another mini peak near the end, but it was predictable and didn't work. So I think this one was just a disappointment for me. I feel like the reviews, now that I'm thinking about it, I've just, you know, been in denial about them. I don't think the reviews were that good, but I was, you know, River in Egypt about that. It's my own fault. Okay, so number 6 is the biggest surprise of this of the year so far, and I hate to say this, but I feel like First Blood by David Morrell was the biggest surprise. So this is the book which inspired the movie Rambo. So it's basically the beginnings of Rambo in his like original state. And my husband loved this book, and he was like, please read this book, you're gonna love it. And I was like, I doubt it. But I will do. And one of my promises for like Valentine's Day or Deed Santa Storm or something was, I will read you damn First Blood book and discuss, okay? And it's been months and months and months and I haven't done that, but finally I did it. Like, I don't know what I was expecting. I think I was expecting some like shallow, violent bullshit, basically, just like the Rambo movies, you know, like shirtless and sweaty and like a bullets thing across here, like just pointless violence. But the book actually was like much deeper than that. It's deeper than the movie, and it ends better. The characters are like developed better, and I know that I should have known that, because movies, they always dumb them down, don't they, and like make them more extreme and like don't give you as much backstory. I should have known that, but I think I just thought, oh, Rambo, no. But the book has loads of like political like statements and stuff in it, like saying really deep things about the war, because the book was written sort of just after the Vietnam War. Or like sort of what was going on, or just after something. It says like a sort of like a lot of deep things about like the soldiers in the war and their return back home, and sort of how they were treated when they got home, and like whether they should have been treated that way, and like whether the war should have even happened. And like it was quite deep. Like basically Rambo is this sort of like PTSD sufferer, and he's sort of basically bringing the war home with him. So even though most Americans didn't have to meet the war face to face because it was in Vietnam, people, you know, go to Vietnam and then come back, and then they bring that war with them to the people at home. You know, like we can't disconnect from it. Like we think, oh, that war's over there, but it's not. Like it comes back, you know. I felt like it was quite deep. I don't know if my husband also felt like that. Maybe he was just like buzzing through it like, oh, this is Rambo, this is amazing. But also at the very end, I'm not gonna like spoil it for you or anything, but the movie does end differently. And I know that because there's a Rambo 2, and there's no way there can be a second Rambo book for reasons I won't tell you, but which you can probably guess. Number 7, favorite new author, debut or new to you. So both of, I got three. None of them are debut. They're all just new to me. 1, Grady Hendrix. I just said that. Changed my life. Okay. Patricia Highsmith, which I read The Blunderer with Bert at Storytime again. And it was amazing. So now I'm like, ooh, I need to read loads more of these. Like she's one of these writers that has loads of books out, you know. Like I see them all the time in charity shops as well, and before I was just like, oh, I bet that's good if I haven't like collected them. Whereas now I'm actively like searching them out. Like when I see them, I'm like, I'm taking that home, it's gonna be so good. Like as a crime writer and as like a thriller writer, I guess, classic. I loved her. Okay, third one. Actually, I'm gonna throw that one off. I'm not gonna do it. No, I've had thoughts now. No, I'll leave it at those two. Okay, number 8, newest fictional crush. Okay, this one's going to be between PC Peter Grant in the Rivers of London books, the ones that I said, where he's like the rookie cop who like fights these magical stuff, and, don't judge me, Rambo. That's right. Okay, but the book version of Rambo. I'm not into the Hollywood version of Rambo, okay? But PC Peter Grant, he's cool because he's really smart and he's like funny, and like he just takes things in stride. Like really crazy stuff happens and then he's like, well, what do we do about this? Should we have some lunch first, you know? And he does like scientific studies and stuff to sort of improve his magical understanding. So he's an apprentice magician, basically. He's like learning how to do magic and how to deal with magic and all these sort of things. But instead of just sort of taking it in and being like, yes, okay, he like takes it upon himself to do different experiments about like there's like this vestigia or whatever, this sort of like aura that happens around magic, and he can sort of like, he's doing experiments with his dog who can sense the vestigia, about what things and what like spells or what beings or whatever have the most vestigia, or like, it's just super clever. He's super clever. In my mind, he's banging as well. Like he's a cop, you know, so he probably runs a lot, lifts weights. Yeah. Okay, and then Rambo. I feel like I need to explain the Rambo fetish that I have now, but I won't do, because I think explaining it in detail will just make it weirder. I will just say he's a different guy in the book, okay? He doesn't want to fight, you know? He doesn't want to kill you with crazy moves you didn't see coming, okay? He just wants to get away. He just wants to be free, man. Why you keep chasing him? You asked for it. I'm gonna leave it there. Okay, number 9, newest favorite character. I'm gonna go with, I don't know, I think maybe Happy Doll, which is the name of the private eye in Man Named Doll. He really is named Doll. His last name is Doll. His first name is Happy. For real, that's his name. I think like the way that he speaks and the way that he sees the world and things that he does, like he's like, oh, I gotta go chase this down, I gotta kill this guy basically, but I'm gonna walk my dog first because he deserves it. Who's a good boy? You know, like I just love I feel like if he was a person, like we could hang out like we could get drinks. Like, he's obviously messed up. Like, he's got, you know, mommy issues, he's got relationship and commitment issues. Like, we wouldn't date. Okay, I don't have a crush on him, but I feel like we could definitely be mates. He's like, I hope there are more books with him in it. Like, I haven't actually looked. Like, I know that Jonathan Ames writes other books, but I think his character is a one-off. Like, he only shows up in that book. But actually, I will investigate and let you know, because this could be a game changer. Okay, almost there. Number 10, book that made you cry. First one, One Moonlit Night by Craddock Pritchard. Second one, Beautiful Things by Hunter Biden. Okay, One Moonlit Night, I read that in Dewi-thon for Welsh literature. It's like, I think early 20th century, and a tiny Welsh village in North Wales. This kid is sort of being raised by his mother. He only has his mother, and then she has to be committed to a sanatorium or whatever. Like, she's lost her mind a bit, and he has to have her committed. And that scene where he has her committed, oh my god, like just like loads of things in the book just like set you up for it, you know, you're not crying yet, you're not crying yet, you're not crying yet, and then it just pushes you over and you're like, I'm doing it. Okay, but then Beautiful Things by Hunter Biden, there's this part in it where he's like stormed out of an intervention. So his dad, Joe Biden, like makes this intervention with like his kids, like his like siblings, his wife, blah, 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 like all of his family. They come together and they're like, oh, come over for dinner, you know, and then it ends up being an intervention, and he just storms out. He's so angry, and then Joe Biden like runs after him and like grabs him in the parking lot or in the driveway or whatever, and just like hugs him super tight, and is like, I'm so scared, I just love you so much, I don't know what to do, you know, just like a helplessness, and like just like a deepest fear that he's gonna kill himself, you know. It just broke me, that scene. Like, I couldn't cope. But again, you know, it just like builds you up, like, this is crazy, I'm not crying yet, and then just give in. Okay, on the flip side, number 11, a book that makes you happy. Okay, and I'm gonna go with That Old Country Music by Kevin Barry. So I listened to this one on Audible, or not Audible, at the, it's like my the library's audiobook app, BorrowBox. I just thought, oh, you know, I need something to listen to, like, just quickly, you know, like, I know I've heard of this one, blah, blah. And the author is Irish, and the author reads it. So it's like done in an Irish accent, first of all, which is the most amazing thing. Just sort of like lying in bed in the dark, like listening to this like smooth Irish accent just wash over you. But also, sort of like the premise of it is it's like a bunch of different stories that take place in Ireland, and it's like some in the countryside, and like some about sort of like, you know, relationships between people and stuff, and like some are just like about nature type, you know, things. And it's just like, I can't even explain what it is about it that was amazing. It was just beautiful writing and beautiful Irish speaking voice. It made me so happy. Okay, next to last one. Number 12, most beautiful book you've bought so far this year or received. Balls, hold on. Okay, for that one, I'm going to go with Pretending is Lying by Dominique Oblay. So I read this one for like the Reading Europe readathon that was hosted by Mark at Book Time with Elvis. It was to do with the football. So like, you get country, and then your country battles one country, and then you lose and you read a book by the country. Ironically, I didn't lose at all. My country, Italy, won the damn thing. So of course they did. It's a good thing I started breaking the rules and just reading a book for every country that they defeated instead of lost to, or else I never would have read any books. But anyway, okay. So this is the book that I read for Belgium. It's a Belgian author and it's translated into English, and it's a graphic novel. So the pictures and everything themselves aren't particularly gorgeous. Like, there's no, you know, color. It's not like, you know, wild, elaborate, artistic stuff. But I feel like just the pencil drawings themselves are really gorgeous. I just love the detail of them, and I love them. And also, weirdly, and this is gonna like sound like a weird stationery nerd, this page is such high quality. I swear to God. Okay, like, I know, I don't think you can see, but the paper, I've never like had a book, I don't think, with this kind of paper. It's really thick, minorly glossy, like a matte gloss, and it just smells like the most amazing kind of book. I can't even express to you what the situation is going on. But the binding, the book itself, the illustrations, the quality of the paper, this is just a masterpiece. It's like the actual story. Okay, it was okay. Like the plot and everything, it sort of lost me. It went a bit crazy. It's like a memoir. Like the dad's a bit of a drunk, you know, like the boyfriend's a bit of an asshole, you know, like there's like some sort of ghost figure as well that I didn't fully understand. Okay, so the story itself, maybe not the best story, but the book! Holy crap. Love the book. Okay, very last one, number 13. What books do you need to read by the end of the year? So I still have a couple challenges going. So I do Pop Sugar Challenge every year, and also I'm doing the Reading Women Challenge again, or I'm doing the Reading Women Challenge as well this time, thinking I'll be able to get through both of those. And it's not a matter of the amount of books that I read, because the amount of books that make up both challenges together, I read more than that in a year anyway. Like I've already read 80 books, and that's more than the two challenges put together. But the problem is that I don't always want to read the books that are on those lists for those challenges. So sort of as I go along, yeah, okay, I'm picking and like putting things into the challenges and like meeting the prompts or whatever along them. But loads of prompts are still left that I haven't read them yet, and I've gone through and I think I've attached books to it that will fit the prompts. But like I don't want to just read like that. You know, I got things to do, I got feelings, I got emotions that are guiding me to read other things at other times. Sometimes that book that I'm reading doesn't fit properly in my bag and I gotta go out, you know, there's whole things. So I need now, before the end of the year, to attack that quite heavily now. Like, okay, half the year's gone, stop fucking around, okay, get on these challenges. So some of the books that I have like attached to challenges for that, or attached to prompts, are like You Never Forget Your First. I forget the author of that. I'll put it up. It's like about George Washington, but like I'm into that, so that's cool. One Last Stop. It's the one I think I mentioned earlier in like an earlier video about a girl that's like stuck in the 70s, and she like keeps, or she's from the 70s and she's in the 70s, but she's like stuck in a time loop on a train in New York or something. She just like keeps going round in the train. Tilly and the Map of Stories, that's another like Tilly book where she can like wander into the stories. It's like a special skill that she has. It's like a kiddo book. There's just a crap ton of them. I think this question is like, I don't know, like if you've got like a couple that you definitely need to read, but I don't know, like I'm so ridiculous that I just leave everything that I need to do in the year for like the last 2 months of the year. So then my like 2-month list that I need to do, it just is massive when I could have just spread it out through the year. Obviously. So those are the questions. That's the end of the tag. Thank you for watching. If you have any comments, any questions, anything, leave them below. I'm happy to answer that. If you have any like recommendations for me, any thoughts, like books I'm about to read that you think were crap, that would be a really good heads up. Or like books that I said I really liked and you're like, oh, there's a book that's like that and it's this, you should read it. That would be amazing. Also just any thoughts you have at all. Right, okay, thank you for watching. Bye, 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 bye.